Rev up your engines!
There's now a dealer that's selling dozens of almost new EVs for the price of used Corollas. Well, guess what they are? They're Fisker Oceans. There's a dealer that has 24 Fisker Oceans, and most have only 50 miles on their odometers. This is Newport Fisker, of course, Newport, California, and you can get one of these for $23,000. Hey, what a deal. $23,000 practically brand new EV. The only problem is Fisker's out of business. Good luck having them worked on, getting warranty work done on it, or even trying to find parts for this stupid thing. Now, if you remember, last year, Henrik Fisker's Fisker Company went out of business. Now this is Newport Fisker in Costa Mesa, California. They got 36 Teslas and 24 Fisker Oceans. The Teslas aren't selling too hot either, right? Now, originally, these things were $71,000. If you can get one for 23, yes, it is a deal. But let me tell you something. Don't let your emotions take over and say, what a deal, I'm going to go buy one. Customers of mine that bought cars from companies that were bankrupt all regretted it in the long run. Now, especially a company like this, because it's not like some company, maybe they made cars for 30, 40 years, they go bankrupt. Well, there's old ones out there for spare parts. People have been making parts for them for decades, right? This company, it didn't last very long. So, there aren't going to be a bunch of aftermarket parts. There's no dealerships left. They hardly made any cars, and I'm sure they hardly made any spare parts. So, if you're tempted to take a dip in the ocean, the Fisker Ocean, my advice is don't. But if you do, it's in California, so you're probably living in California, and I wouldn't do that either. But if you want to know what is the cheapest gas-powered sedan owned in 2025, you might be surprised. It's the Honda Civic Si sedan. Now, it's a twin-turbo, 4-cylinder, with a 6-speed manual, zippy little car, and you might think, wait a second, it's not the cheapest car you can buy, right? But we're talking about the cheapest car to actually drive. Vehicle ownership consists of the price of the car, how much it costs to gas it up, how it depreciates, the interest, insurance, okay? And it beats them all. If you're going to drive this thing for 5 years, the insurance cost is about 10 grand. The depreciation is a little over 10 grand. The fuel cost is $7,200. The interest cost is 5 grand, and the maintenance cost is $1,800. So it's actually the cheapest overall. You can buy cars that cost less, but they depreciate more, you lose more money, and yada, yada, yada. So for a car that's kind of fun to drive around, that is the cheapest car to drive for 5 years. If you're unlike most Americans and you've got a 5-year plan, right, you might look at that car. You might look at other cars, add up all the costs and see what it would cost, and you'll find a car like that actually is quite a deal. It isn't always just the price of the car. They're not super expensive cars. They're not the cheapest ones out there either. But they're the best bargain overall when you add the costs of everything. Because after all, you don't buy a car and it sits in the driveway. You got to add all those costs together. Well, if you've seen the 2026 Toyota Corolla, the new Corolla, it's got a facelift, and now check it out. It's a nice looking car. It was a little bit off before. The problem is Toyota's got so many different vehicles out there. What makes something like a Corolla Cross stick out, right? I mean, they got the Toyota Corolla hatchback, they've got RAV4s, they've got all kinds of stuff. But one of the big deals about the Toyota Corolla Cross is the hybrid one is a pretty good deal. It gets phenomenal gas mileage, 40-something miles a gallon in town. Gets like 38 on a highway. But they've put a bunch of different colors in it, so it looks better. You can see the front. Front looks a lot better, too. Before, hey, the Corolla Cross, it was just kind of plain vanilla. Even the Corolla sedan and hatchback looked better. Look at this one. This is a 2023. Look at it. It wasn't. The new one looks a lot better. And, I mean, you're talking about solid 4-cylinder engines in both of them. 2-liter engine for Toyotas, and the 2.5s are excellent engines. So, hey, I'm even thinking if somebody smashes into one of our cars and destroys it, I would seriously consider buying a Toyota Corolla Cross because it's kind of like a Matrix. But our Matrix, of course, isn't hybrid, and so you're going to get a much better gas mileage driving that thing around. Plus, the hybrid is all-wheel drive. You get an all-wheel drive vehicle that can get 40-something miles a gallon in town, 38 in highway. That's pretty good gas mileage. Now, here's an interesting way that GM, yet again, is screwing over their own customers. They now say that if you skip a software update on your vehicle, it could cost you later. They say if you don't install an over-the-air update that's out there within 45 days, if you get damage from the outdated software, it won't be covered by your warranty. This is the new one's 2025. Of course, it'll go into the future, too. But if you own one and you don't update it, which you can sometimes update over the air, and then you have a problem with the car because you didn't update the software and it has a problem, they won't warranty it. Now, what a crappy company not to begin with. They're saying this is 2025 vehicles, right? So these are new vehicles. Must realize they're making crap because they said, if you don't fix it when we have these updates, well, obviously their software is garbage. And if you remember, a couple years ago, old Mary Barra, the head fool of GM, said, we're going to make billions with software. We're going to be a software company. Then the next year, what they do? They fired a bunch of their software people to save money. This company is upside down. They're ostriches. They got their necks in the sand. Well, actually, ostriches don't do that. That's just a joke. But they're not saying, if there is over-the-air updates, if you don't install them in 45 days, any damage related to out-of-date software won't be covered by their warranty. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? Now, you can take it to the dealer to get it updated, right? If you're not savvy, you take it in and then they update it because we all know how that goes. They'll take all day to do something that takes 10 minutes. You'll be waiting. They won't give you a free rental car, of course, because they'll say, we can do this in a day. If we do it with a day, we don't have to give you a rental car, yada, 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 right? So, another reason you should listen to old Scotty. Just don't buy GM products in the first place. If they're going to treat their customers like this with brand new cars, just don't buy one of those piles of junk that they make anyway. But they also say, get this is hilarious, and I quote, if an over-the-air software update causes damage to the vehicle, that damage will be covered for the warranty coverage period. So they're even telling you, well, our updates might not work either and they might damage your car. What a company. All I have to do is say, stay away from GM vehicles and you won't be involved in all this fiasco nonsense in the first place. Well, a judge just ruled that Tesla must pay a portion of the $329 million in damages after a fatal autopilot crash. A jury in Florida said Tesla is partly liable for a fatal 2019 autopilot crash. Now they have to pay a portion of the $329 million in damage to victims and to a survivor. Now, Tesla said it was the driver's behavior that he had dropped his phone and went on to pick it while it was on autopilot. Compensatory damages and $200 million in punitive damages. The jury said Tesla is responsible for 33% of it. They also say that since punitive damages were only assessed, punitive damages are capped at 3 times compensatory damages, so Tesla payments could be $242 million. Of course, Tesla's going to appeal the decision, right? Hey, they're the morons that called it full self-driving. You said that, and in a court of law, right, words mean things in a court. If you said this, then, well, you said that, so you're responsible, right? So if you say full self-driving, as far as I'm concerned, I agree with the judge. You said it was full self-driving. It isn't, but you said it was, so you're responsible for any damage that's done. They're going to fight it till, literally Hades freezes over, but the jury and the judge said, yep, shouldn't have called it full self-driving. Now, this seems to happen more and more. This guy buys brand new Toyota 7 months ago, and now they said, your warranty's void, we're not going to fix it. Well, his steering wheel is peeling, and it's 7 months old. The leather, in quotes, is starting to disintegrate. And so I brought it and said, look, the leather's coming off. You need to replace it, right? Toyota said, we're denying coverage to fix the steering wheel. They said, that's not covered by warranty because that could be your hand oils, the oil on your hand that's deteriorating the steering wheel. So the man, Mr. Zane, replied, I don't drive telekinetically. I drive with my hands on the steering wheel. Right? Now, here is the problem. Toyota is making the wrong product. Their steering wheel has what's called Softex leather. It's not real leather. If it was real leather, it would hold up, okay? I put a real leather steering wheel on my wife's Matrix 5 years ago. Now, it's aftermarket. I bought it, but I deliberately went out and bought an actual leather steering wheel cover, not Softex, not fake, not plastic. It's real leather. I sewed it on myself, looked at a video on YouTube, sewed it on myself. 5 years later, that baby is still strong. It's not cracked. It's out in the sun all the time, right? No, because it was done right. Well, guess what Softex is? Softex is a synthetic leather seat material. Designed for wear, easy cleaning, and resisting spills, says Toyota. Well, it doesn't wear very well. It's coming apart, and they say, well, it's your hand oils on your hand. That's just like when Toyota has those mirrors that are bubbling and the plastic's melting and the side plastic's melting, and Toyota calls it a thermal event. You had a thermal event and it's melting. You park next to windows and the sun bounced off, right? I mean, I got 30-year-old Toyotas that the plastic hasn't bubbled yet, so that's nonsense, right? That's just, and that was Texas sun. That's just nonsense. They're just covering their own heinies, right? Now, if you do have something like this happen, tell you two things. Do two things. One, email me, ScottyKilmer@gmail.com. We'll talk about it. We'll shame them and contact Toyota itself. Not the dealerships. Contact Toyota. Because let me tell you, I had a customer do that in Houston years ago. They refused to warranty something. So I fixed it. But I said, here's the old parts. And a year later, they said, Japanese guy came to their door, apologetic, gave him a check that paid for what I had fixed. And they gave them the old. They contacted Toyota themselves in Japan. So if you do have problems, contact them. Forget the dealers. They're scumbags. Well, now people are being air tagged. You know, people will stick those magnetic air tags somewhere in a car so they can follow you around. You've seen it in all the detective, and they pick it up and they put the little transponder on the car so they can follow where the criminals go, right? Well, there was a woman who said she goes in and she found out while she was near a police station, her car had an air tag. The police denied any knowledge of it. And she said, oh, they weren't helpful. She said she discovered the air tag and she didn't know where it came from. And she took it to a body shop and they said, there's so many nooks and crannies of the car where they hide it. We don't know what you can do. The golf course said they didn't care. I mean, and she's now paranoid, thinking somebody's following around. She said she's not going to take her car home. Well, here's something you might want to know. There is a Google Play app that's even free. It's called AirTag Finder. Scan and detect. So, you can use your cell phone to look for these stupid things. Put it on your phone if you want. See if you can find stuff. If you're worried, if you're paranoid and you think people are following you around, hey, do it. Walk around. Check your vehicle every once in a while. Used to be you had to be like a secret squirrel spy and have the special equipment and walk around. Well, now that stuff's available to all of us using our cell phone. So if you're worried, you might want to try AirTag Finder to see if anybody is following you around. Maybe your wife is following you, or maybe your husband is following you around to see where you're going. Well, here's a great one. Where a Canadian electric bus company screwing over us Americans here. Quebec vehicle maker Lion Electric says it will no longer honor warranties on school buses and trucks sold in the United States. They make electric buses and trucks. They sold a bunch of electric buses in the United States. Well, get this. They still have a manufacturing plant in Quebec. They said they're going to make electric school buses still, but they're not going to honor any of the warranties to the ones they sold in the United States. The court-appointed monitor sent a letter to U.S. clients and said their warranties and purchase orders have been voided. All warranties you could have with the Lion Group are therefore not being legally assumed by the company post-transaction. So they're going through some kind of whatever the Canadians do for bankruptcy, right? But they're saying, well, the new company, it doesn't have to honor any of the warranties of the old company. So all these people that bought those stupid, sold 2,000 buses, and they're not going to warranty them. But get this, the buses that operate in Quebec, or Quebec as they may say, those warranties are honored. So they're honoring the warranty for the electric buses they sold to themselves, the Canadians, but not the ones they sold us. So that's what I say. What a raw deal. But get this, they're only honoring the warranties in Quebec because Valerie Tremblay of the Canadian Electric School Bus Alliance said Prince Edward Island has their warranties voided too. So they're only doing it in their own province, Quebec. Their own country. They're screwing over their own country people too, the people on Prince Edward Island. Richard Deckman, superintendent of rural Illinois School District, South Chicago, they got 25 of these stupid electric school buses. And they're trying to find somebody who can fix them. They say we have to still transport 2,000 students a day to school. We need our electric buses to be working. Well, guess what? They've been screwed over. All I have to say, electric school buses, what a stupid idea. Rural district, they go long distances. Electric buses and long distances doesn't pan out. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.